All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets here in the NBA on Thursday. Got a 3-game slate. We're going to give you guys the game-by-game breakdown. We have two kind of game stacks I think we can roll out. One in the Toronto-Miami game, and then another one in the Pelicans versus Kings game. And there's one bet that's standing out to me in the Detroit game. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. And so let's start off with the first bet, and that's going to be looking at Grady Dick to get over 16.5 points. Now, what we're going to notice is that the sportsbook data is kind of telling us not to do that, okay? The average sportsbook line as it currently sits is at 16. Now, I do want to remind people that I'm doing this video early on purpose so that we can potentially gain an edge, whether it be on PrizePicks or Underdog or any other sportsbook. That's really the purpose of doing these videos the night before, is that we could potentially gain some nice edges on some bets that may get bumped in our favor. So if you guys are betting on PrizePicks or Underdog, great. If you guys are betting on a traditional sportsbook bet, honestly, even better. And so one of those reasons is if Grady Dick obviously gets his over on a traditional sportsbook, this is going to be a little bit better there, where the payout's going to be a little bit better. Now, why do I like this bet? Well, it's very much twofold. One, you got Scotty Barnes out in this game, which does create a lot of usage. It's going to be open. Obviously, Scotty Barnes had been someone that really had been crushing, especially lately as well. And then Emmanuel Quickly is still out as well, two high usage rate players. And so we look at Grady Dick's production with those two players off the court. He is someone that does benefit a ton. Okay, he actually gets plus 4.1 points more per 36 and 1.8 more assists per 36 as well, which his assist total really low as is, and he's not someone that typically does get to 36 minutes, so that's a little bit of a concern. Also a concern in this game is that they are 10-point dogs in this game. So what's kind of always been true with Toronto is still true, that if we're betting on some Raptors players, we're kind of wanting to bet them in a game stack because we're just betting on the game to stay close at this point. And the thing about it, if Grady Dick is going to get over 16.5 points, that's probably going to lead to the game staying close enough for long enough for him to be able to hit that over. So I think that's pretty solid. Now, these two teams did meet recently, and he did not play in that game because he was banged up. So I kind of wish we could have that to go in and look at, but we don't have that. So kind of is what it is in regards to that. And apologies, guys, for the little graphic on the other side of the screen there. If you guys haven't checked out the NFL props video that the graphic was, or the text there was calling out, got some early edges there on some bets that I like. And then we stick with the Toronto Raptors here. Another player that really sees an increase in production with those two players off the court is going to be Joachim Poeltl. He's someone that averages about 4 more points per 36 and 1.4 more rebounds per 36 as well. Now, if we look at his last two games against Miami, pretty darn solid production. 17 points, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 10 rebounds there as well. So he has been someone that has been pretty productive against Miami, and he's a player that I do want to bet on in this game. Again, with a bet like this, we're betting on the game to stay close enough for long enough. And so the bet that I like the most is going to be looking at Joachim Poeltl to get over 14.5 points on Underdog. I'm not really sure why PrizePicks has this bumped up to 15. It's kind of strange that they have, because we look at the average sportsbook line. Again, it's early. There's not that much sportsbook data coming into it, but still, the average sportsbook line has it basically as a 50-50, well, 51%, for him to get over 14.5 points. So it's definitely strange that PrizePicks has already rose this line up. But we look at the projected minutes of 34. It's a little bit more than is normal. And if he gets that, typically getting around 15 points then as well. Again, his per 36 production a little bit higher than that. DVP-wise, Miami is a little bit more of a difficult matchup, but still, granted, his production with Emmanuel Quickly and also Scotty Barnes off the court, I do like that over a decent amount. We are going to notice that all the other bets are still 50-50s, but kind of more stayaways, I would say. The thing with him is because he's got like a high variance in his lines, because it can be a night in which he goes off point-wise. It can be a night in which he goes off rebound-wise. I don't feel the need to chase these points, rebounds, and assist lines. Maybe his fantasy score one, if you guys are some of that bets on Underdog or PrizePicks, I think that could be a decent route that we go. Then we stick with the Raptors here as well. Another bet that I don't mind, this is going to be more so on PrizePicks, that would actually be RJ Barrett to get over 24 points. Again, we're just trying to take advantage of the slight prop line differences there, especially on something like PrizePicks or Underdog, where the payout doesn't really adjust based off of the line, which is pretty nice. Now, this isn't a bet where I think we need to go crazy with. This is a bet like per 36 wise, he only averages 26 points per 36 with those two players off the court. And given the chance for this game to be a blowout, that does worry me a little bit here. But we do have him projected to get 36 minutes, and so if he does get that, there's a good chance that he does end up getting the over. And with him, guys, I think it's worth calling out in 2 games against Miami thus far. 29 and 37 points in those games. So able to get the over twice in those two matchups. So, all in all, not a terrible bet that we were looking at there. And then one more as well. It's not a bet that I think we need to go crazy with, but we got a Kachai Abaji here as well. I don't mind his over points and assists of 5.5. We look at the season average, does average about 6 on the season. He is someone that should get more minutes as well. Unfortunately, with the Raptors being banged up again with Scotty Barnes out, we did see his minutes dip in 2 straight games, and that was because they're a little bit healthy in that game. Grady Dick came back. They had Scotty Barnes good to go in that game. So we look at what he's been able to do in 2 games against Miami as well. 5 rebounds in both of those games, and then 3 assists in both of those games as well. So 8 for his rebounds and assists. You can get that over 5.5 on Underdog. So some pretty strong bets there, I would say, for Toronto. Again, we're more just trying to bet on that game, staying close. Let's go ahead and flip on into the Miami side of this. And for Miami, I do want to call out some of the bets that are currently popping up as good bets. We got Jimmy Butler for over his rebounds and assists. You kind of look at the production for his position against Toronto. It's one of the best matchups for rebounds and assists, so I don't hate that idea. And actually, same thing for Bam as well, specifically the assist. They're actually the easiest matchup. The Toronto Raptors are the easiest matchup for centers getting assists. They average 5.2 assists, and again, that's the easiest one. And so for me, I actually like betting on Bam's over assist a little bit better, but that's going to be a slightly reduced payout on Underdog if we are chasing that. It's at 4.5, but I do think there's a good chance that he does end up getting the over there. And if we look at it, guys, he got his overs pretty easily there, 7 and then 10 in those 2 games against Toronto earlier on, not too long ago. So now let's jump into the next game. We got Boston versus the Detroit Pistons, and I don't really like any of the bets too much in this game, except for looking at Cade Cunningham to get over 8.5 assists. This is going to be one that's more available on Underdog right now. Interesting to see what line that PrizePicks comes out with. Right now, this is currently a Goblin bet, which is their kind of reduced payout bet. They just have to market that way based off of how their structure is, if you guys aren't familiar with that. But I do like him to get over 8.5 assists. While we have this pulled up, we can see he had 14 against Boston earlier on, and even though this is a 12.5 point spread, they have been able to keep the games close enough for long enough for Cade Cunningham to be able to get his over assist. Now, obviously, if he's getting his over assist, that probably does mean that Detroit's at least shooting the basketball well enough to keep the game close enough, so it kind of goes hand in hand with that spread. And they did play earlier on in the season as well. He was able to get 10 assists in that game there as well, so 2 for 2 in terms of getting the over in this matchup. If you look at his hit rate, he has just been consistently able to get over 8.5 assists as well. One of the best hit rates in the league. It's like 85% in terms of bets that are available on the board. PrizePicks does have a Goblin bet of 11.5 assists out available right now. I don't know if I exactly want to go with that over. I think that's a little bit too high. I think we'd be better off just chasing the 8.5 assist line that's currently out there. Now, guys, I think it's worth calling out. In this game, we are currently not getting any sportsbook data just yet because Tatum is currently questionable. He actually ended up sitting out in the previous game against Detroit as well. I think somewhat by design because they are heavy favorites in this game. And so it wouldn't be surprising to see one of the kind of studs for Boston end up sitting. He's currently questionable, so we're not getting any lines just yet for them. So with that, really nothing to really talk about for Boston. I will say Tatum did play against Toronto earlier on this season, had over 30 points in that game, but he is someone that in some blowouts, he's not the full reason as to why they're blowing out a team. And so if he does play, I wouldn't say that his points line that we're getting, which on Underdog right now is at 26.5, I wouldn't consider that a lock. This is the standard line. I'd be fine with it. Like, I wouldn't talk anyone out of it either way, really. If they're wanting to bet the under or if they want to bet the over, I wouldn't really talk about either way if they had conviction with it, but it's really not a bet that I feel like I need to go out of my way to target. Now, I do want to call one other thing here as well while we're mentioning this game. And going back to Cade Cunningham, I do wish we could get some over turnover props for him. He has had like 7 and 8 turnovers against Boston as well, which is a little bit lower than his season average. And so I don't know. I think there could be an edge there. Boston's a good defensive team. We know that. If he doesn't get his over assist, that could also be part of the reason as to why he kept up that high turnover streak there as well. So let's go ahead and jump on into this next game, which is going to be the Pelicans versus the Kings. And what we're going to notice here in this game is that sportsbook-wise, we're probably not going to get that many edges, at least as it sits right now. But I do think that this game as a whole is a game in which we could see a lot of lines really jump throughout the day, whether that be up or down based off of the original lines. And that's because there just isn't that much data going into this matchup just yet. And that's going to be because of just how banged up the Pelicans are. So we know they're already going to be without Zion. He's been someone that's been ruled out for quite some time. Brandon Ingram as well. He's going to miss a decent amount of time. Really kind of strange stuff with the Pelicans over the past few seasons. Alvarado's out. Jordan Hawkins is out. Javonte Green could sit. They just have so many bodies out. And so with that, we haven't really seen this rotation of players that much because remember, DeJounte Murray was banged up for most of the start of the season as well. So we really haven't seen this roster make up all too much. There's like 150-ish, I think, minutes going into the highest player that we're going to be on. So when we go back into the board here, it makes sense why there's no real edges one way or the other. Now, I will say DeJounte Murray for actually is under 7.5 assists is not a bad bet to me. And so the fact that the average sportsbook line is telling us to bet the under here as well, I'm kind of okay with that. You look at his per 36 production with those players off the court, his assists actually go down slightly. And so this line's already a little bit too high. Seeing as he only averages 6.5 on the season, Vegas is expecting a bump. And in this matchup against the Kings, which is a more difficult matchup for opposing point guards, I could actually see him getting that under 7.5 assists. Again, with those players off the court, what I looked at was mostly Zion Williamson off the court and also Brandon Ingram. But either way you slice it, he should be getting the under assist. Now, he does get a bump in his usage, but I think you're just taking away, two big playmakers like that. And I think that's part of the reason as to why the assists are a little bit lower. Now, we have seen him be streaky here, 11, 5, 3, 10. So it is a little bit hit or miss with him thus far this season. And maybe that's just due to a lack of chemistry. But again, there's not going to be that much chemistry on the court in this one as well. And so a bet that I do like in this game is going to be looking at CJ McCollum to get over his 21.5 points. So to me, this is not going to be a bet that's like a massive edge. But again, if you look at that per 36 production with those two players off the court, he averages 24.5 points per 36. And he's someone that will see a slight increase in usage as well with those players off the court. And as I'm currently recording this, we're not getting any sportsbook data in on it just yet. It kind of makes sense. A little bit early. I'm recording this video pretty early. 5.5 point spread though, so I don't mind that one there for him. And then Missy here as well. I think I need to look up how to say his name. But I do like his over points here. So it really depends what bet you want to be on because I also like his rebounds as well at 9.5. I think it's kind of a toss-up. I kind of wish his points and rebounds line was, accurate, where if you add it up here, guys, it's 20 instead of 20.5. That could end up being the difference between it cashing or not cashing. So I like to typically just go with one of those if they're not matching up together. You look at his per 36 production with those players off the court, he averages 7 more points per 36, and there's actually a pretty big sample into that, like over 170 minutes going into that sample, so not like too small of a sample size to the point where we'd just be ignoring that. And so 1, that's already nice, but 2, you look at it based off of a DVP projection, based off of his projection minutes, he should be able to get the over. Based off of his Vegas line, you take his average minutes divided by the Vegas times that, the projection should be able to get the over there as well. So all of it aligns with him being able to get that over. And if we look at his game log, he has been kind of crushing lately as well, especially in terms of like per 36 wise or minutes wise as well. When the minutes have been there, he's been able to get the over there. And same thing with his rebounds. They coincide together pretty well there. 14 rebounds in his last game. OKC did not get the minutes in that game, but has consistently been able to get this over as well. He actually gets 2.8 more rebounds per 36 as well, to about 13.3 on average per 36. Now, he's not going to get 36 minutes as we saw in the projections, probably closer to 30. Could get a little bit more than that as well. But I really think that we have a little bit of a stacking opportunity there with the Pelicans where they could all potentially be a little bit undervalued in this game. And then one other player that we could go ahead and game stack as well in this game would be Brandon Boston Jr. to get over 10.5 points. He's the player that actually gets the most minutes with those players off the court. And he's also someone that, per 36 wise, averages 16.6 points as well. So pretty high point total. Now the question is, will he get 36 minutes in this game? I would probably say no. I'd be more on the no side. You look at the last game with Ingram getting injured, 28 minutes in that game. Now, we have seen him get 29 recently. Earlier on in the season, because they've been so banged up, he has been someone that has gotten a decent amount of run. And we do see in games where he is getting close to 30 minutes or over 30 minutes, in those games, he was consistently getting the over or at least around that line as well. And so he is someone that is very hit or miss. That is true. And he's going to be probably playing the small forward position. Now, that's part of the reason as to kind of why I like it. It's a decent matchup for a small forward. And so he's not a terrible bet there. But again, that's kind of like the last leg of the Pelican stack that I could go in on. Now, it's not a game that's projected to be a blowout, only 5.5 points, but I think him having a good game would be part of the reason as to why it doesn't end up blowing out. So now we go ahead and jump on into the other side of this game. We got the Kings. And I know someone in the comment section in the last video mentioned that they're a Kings fan. If you guys and feel like they have a good pulse on the Kings, I bring that up because I mentioned, like, typically I don't like to bet on the Kings because they go pretty deep, and it can just be, I personally feel like there's not as much rhyme or reason as to like why it's a Sabonis night or a Fox night or DeRozan night or Horford night. Like, it's just all a little bit random to me. But I will say I do think we are getting some good matchups here for both De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan. So De'Aaron Fox, I do like his over assist line that we are currently getting. It's not showing up here because it's not a standard bet on Underdog. And so I'll pull it up here. So we are getting a slightly increased payout here with this one. And I kind of find that strange. So one, he gets a matchup against the Pelicans that give up 10.5 assists to opposing point guards, which is the second most in the league. And so that's already boding well for us. And then we look at the assists that he is currently averaging on the season, 6 on the season. And lately he has been getting the over a little bit more frequently, 9, 8, 3, 7, 9, 5, 8, 5. So like a little bit more hit or miss, but have seen him get the over more recently here. And again, in a better matchup, I really am kind of okay with chasing that there as well. And that actually will coincide with another bet that I want to be on, which is going to be DeMar DeRozan to get over his points line as well. I think these two correlate. Obviously, if Fox is getting some assists, that could lead to DeMar DeRozan getting his over points. I think more vice versa. If DeMar DeRozan's getting his over points, that helps De'Aaron Fox get his over assist here. DeMar DeRozan in this matchup against the Pelicans gets one of the easiest matchups as well. The Pelicans give up an average of 24.4 points to opposing small forwards. One of the better matchups you can ask for. And if you look at the points per game on average, his line's a little bit lower than it should be. Now, that could be because he has been a little bit hit or miss, 18, 23, 26, 18. That goes to my point of why I typically don't like to recommend the Kings, because it does seem to be hit or miss. Again, I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to it, but to me, this could be a solid way to go about stacking this game here. If you want to go over his rebounds and assists, you do see that the projection data does like the over as well as the average sportsbook line, so not a terrible bet there as well. I personally like the over points a little bit more. That's basically a 50-50 split there. So guys, we're about to go ahead and get into the recap of my favorite bets here, giving you guys the 9 to 5 bet of the day here. But first, I want to remind you guys of the promo code that's currently going on the website. Use the promo code Keep Cashing, get 20% off your first 9 to 5 month membership. Take advantage of that, guys. It's the best value out there already at $10 a month on average. But if you guys want to check it out, you can use that promo code to get the first month for $8. All right, guys, so going ahead and getting to the 9 to 5 bet of the day here. Going to be doing 2 game stacks here, so kind of 2 separate slips. Here we go. So we got the Detroit versus Miami game stack here, as you guys can see. Do you like Bam to get over 4.5 assists? Actually, if you guys are someone that wants to bet him to get over 5.5 assists, I actually don't think that'd be bad. If you get an increased payout with that, I'd be on board with that. And then Jakob Poeltl with his over 14.5 points. He is someone that in 2 games against them has really been able to get that over, and I like the line that we're getting there. And again, with his per 36 production, with both Scotty Barnes off the court and Emmanuel quickly off the court, that should point to him getting the over. Now, Grady Dick is coming in off of a poor night shooting, but I do like his over points there as well. He is someone that, again, per 36 wise should be able to get the over. And then Abaji just kind of attaching that, hoping that the game does stay close enough for long enough. And then Cade Cunningham, just a solid bet there, I think, at 8.5 assists for the over. And then I just covered the reasons why I like these bets. If you guys are someone that fast forwards to the end, go back about a minute and a half. I'll be breaking down these bets here as well. But again, just kind of tossing in Brandon Boston Jr. into the stack as well. So one, make it a 5 slip bet. That was kind of the purpose of that. But I do think if this game is staying close and everything is as high scoring, kind of goes as Vegas sees, I think this will be a bet that does end up hitting there as well. So that's going to be all, guys. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure to give a like to the video. That does help out a lot. Been growing a decent amount. I do appreciate that. Comment your guys' favorite prop bet if there is one. Again, if you guys want access to any of the tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Thank you guys. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.